Good evening. In our news bulletin for tonight, a medevac arranged to take Premier Tokitalangi for medical treatment in New Zealand. Whanokepule passed a motion to increase assembly members' salaries. A workshop was held with village councils to review plans for disaster preparedness. Niue is developing its own food-based dietary guidelines. A call was made earlier today to uplift Premier Honourable Tokitalangi to New Zealand for urgent medical treatment. He was admitted to Niue Hospital this morning, and a decision to refer him to New Zealand for urgent treatment was made by medical staff who attended to him. We pray and wish him a speedy recovery. The Niue Legislative Assembly members overwhelmingly voted for a motion to give themselves a pay rise of an extra $5,000 each. The motion that was put forward by the Finance Minister, Honourable Premier Tokitalangi, was discussed in the last sitting and got its third and final reading yesterday. Some sitting MPs expressed their views about the increase and a threat of legal action from one member saying that it was unconstitutional to change the recommendations of the Niue Public Service Commission. Sitting MPs' salaries will now increase from $26,179 to $31,179. Associate ministers were receiving $44,315 from $39,315. Ministers are at $56,009. That's an increase from the $51,009. The Speaker's salary will now be $35,731. The Premier will be paid $80,005, an increase from the $75,055 he was previously receiving. And on top of the salary increases, each MP with the Speaker receives an allowance for any expenses related to their role as a Member of Parliament. Each MP will also receive clothing allowance every 3 years, overseas entertainment and additional overseas entertainment allowances. Yesterday, the Niue Disaster Management Office worked together with village councils, non-government organizations and private sector to review cyclone season preparedness plans. It is predicted that 10 tropical cyclones are expected for the Pacific during this cyclone season, and out of the 10, 4 tropical cyclones are expected to affect Niue, and that is according to the Niue Meteorological Services. The Disaster Preparedness Workshop is organized annually by the Disaster Management Office to remind the community what actions need to be taken in case of a disaster. The plans for the cyclone season were reviewed, updated and improved. As part of yesterday's program, participants were encouraged to identify the risks and solutions to help eliminate those risks.
What we've seen so far from last year, that the cyclone pattern has changed. Like we normally experience this if we get the winds from the northwest, we're tended to hit, but then on the last cyclones, it's pretty much from the eastern side, either northeast or southeast, and it's very unpredictable right now. So we just needed to be aware and be more prepared, because we only have one island, and then we can experience all the different winds or different experiences from all the different parts of the island. So it's just a reminder that people needed to be more prepared and not just to sit around and not to expect anything, because now that we have the information, we need to use this information so we can better make decisions on our preparations. One of the things that we would just like to encourage people on what they can do for themselves is just like preparing their disaster kits, that is their backpack, with the documents or the food or the change of clothing, things that they can take if anything happens to them, especially people that are very close to the ocean. And everyone else, as well as to have your cars, at least at halfway during this season, halfway full, so that you don't rush into the gas station, because gas can run out and then people will be in demand for it. So at least if you have that you're well prepared, and then you don't have to rush. That gives you some time to do extra things and put away some food and especially water.
In addition, it was stressed that the importance of listening for radio updates is a part of being prepared when a cyclone affects Niue. Cyclone season has already started on the 1st of November and will go up until the 30th of April next year. The message now is for the community to be vigilant, prepared, and always pay attention to updates on Radio Sunshine about the weather. Niue is in the process of developing its own food-based dietary guidelines and resource materials to promote better eating habits and lifestyles. The project is funded by the Food and Agriculture Organization with support from the Pacific community to update and modernize guidelines that were developed more than 10 years ago. We spoke with one of the consultants to find out more about the work that they're doing.
I'm actually here on behalf of FAO to assist in reviewing the Niue dietary guidelines that was actually developed in 2005. That original one was actually based on the regional dietary guidelines that was developed by SPC in early 2000, sorry. So I understand that Niue thought it was time we relooked at that guideline and see what might have changed and see what we need to do in order to perhaps help the Niuean population to develop a healthier diet.
Food-based dietary guidelines are used to establish a basis for food and nutrition, health and agricultural policies, and nutrition education programs that foster healthy eating habits and lifestyles. Work to develop country-specific resources for Niue started at the beginning of this year to give a modernized twist with messages that appeal to Niuean people. This process has been guided by DAF with the Project Steering Committee and is now in its final stages.
We've actually completed or finalized the messages that the steering committee believed is appropriate and relevant to Niue. And I think that's very important, that whatever we try and promote is what Niueans need to, and particularly with Niue in relation to the increase in NCDs. So a lot of the work that we are actually including into this is really to go towards preventing NCDs and other health-related problems.
Non-communicable diseases is one of the most pressing health issues in the Pacific and is attributed to lifestyle choices.
I think one of the problems that we've noticed with the records that we have here in Niue, physical activity is not a problem. It's the food that we eat, the amount and the kinds of food that we eat. And Niue is no exception to the Pacific. We enjoy our food and we eat a lot of food. And that's probably one of the biggest problems that we are having to deal with. So that's going to be the key messages, the communication messages, and what the Department of Agriculture is having to promote is to try and get the population in Niue to grow more local foods, because a lot of we gather a lot of food that is available here is really processed and been imported from other countries. So there's very little local foods even in the market. And that's what we are trying to, I think is going to be the key message in this, so that people try and go back to our local foods that our forefathers ate, and they were healthy.
The Go Local concept is being promoted to get people to eat more local and traditional food rather than processed food with less nutritional value. The guidelines and resource materials that have been developed will also be made available in Wangahau Niue and that will be rolled out in schools and in the community early next year. And that concludes our news bulletin for this evening. Don't forget to check out the Toy Show Day this coming Saturday. Do have an enjoyable weekend until next week's news bulletin.